All right, this week's study is holy sobriety. Sobriety, or to think rightly about oneself. And this is not merely a matter of an attitude of common sense, which may acknowledge the spiritual aspect of the world, but would think it foolish to trust it. Nor is it merely a practical attitude, because a practical person, because they make all things, even spiritual things, serve practical purposes, they fail to acknowledge the supremacy of the spiritual. And this is over all aspects of life. Spiritual is primary, whereas a practical person makes everything about its usefulness. Proper thinking about ourselves avoids the error of optimistically following our own nature and failing to recognize the consequences of the fall. This kind of thinking uh, leads to the, the misconception that uh, following our nature is automatically a good. The classic following your heart. Holy sobriety. We look at ourselves with blunt truthfulness and realize that we are a fallen, sinful people. We are also aware that we need to go through life in this world and our attachments to it. This contrasts with some believers who want to just skip the physical step altogether and deny our physical realities. An example that we've discussed before would be the kind of person who will not mourn over the loss of a loved one because they have gone to be with the Lord and they fail to have a proper response to grief. Another error in this same vein is to mistake physical feelings as spiritual ones. Those who love to criticize others may mistake their love for going to church as a zeal for God when it's really nothing more than a desire to tell others to live, how to live. Or on the opposite end of the spectrum, it might mistake depression for some dark spiritual night of the soul. The error of mistaking the physical with the spiritual is most dangerous when we mistake inner wants, desires, etc., for the voice of God. We need to be very cautious about saying, "The Lord told me." Um, it is wise to check with other believers we respect because of our ability for self deception. To grow in maturity and faith, we need to trust not in human beings or even in ideals, but in the person of Jesus Christ. The call itself has to be the rock foundation of our faith. So, in contrast to trusting our own perception, we will ultimately trust that God in Christ has called us. And so we will be able to withstand trials of our faith, knowing ahead of time that we can allow circumstances to cause us to lose sight of that call and the significance of it. And this is most profound in going through difficulties and trials. We may not sense that call, but we have to go beyond and distrust our own feelings at that point and trust in the call of Christ in our lives. He is the one who will allow us to be faithful. And we'll look at one example of that in Acts now. And that's holy sobriety. This is our one of our last studies, I believe. Next study will complete this Bible study. All right, take care.